Okay, good morning and welcome to our Intro to the Bar webinar. Again, I just want to confirm that everyone can hear me. I believe we checked already and a number of you have let me know that you can hear, so that is a wonderful thing. Again, I want to apologize for last weekend. We had a little technical difficulties, but we've ironed everything out and we are good and ready to go for this morning. My name is Joni Radu. I am the Director of the Office of Academic Excellence. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today for an overview of the bar exam. Our office is very excited about working with you guys this year in helping you go along your journey in getting prepared and applying to the bar exam. And we truly look forward to any additional engagement with you throughout the year. So our goal today is to provide you with some basic information about the bar exam and to also raise some awareness around associated bar exam considerations. This is kind of our first time conducting a webinar of this type. So I want to encourage you and welcome any of your feedback. More than likely, we'll send out a short survey, or actually there's a survey at the end of this presentation that we'd love for you to take a little time to complete. But again, any other feedback you'd like to share, we welcome. So let's go ahead and get started and begin with some bar exam basics. Now, the bar exam is a licensing exam. The majority of states require that you pass a bar exam in order for you to practice law in their respective jurisdictions. So when is the bar exam given and exactly what is it? So the exam itself is 2 days, typically. You do have a couple of states that may stretch it out an extra day or half a day, which is why it's normally given on the last Tuesday and Wednesday of either February or July. Sometimes the Thursday is an extra day or the second day of a 2-day bar exam. Again, it just depends on your jurisdiction. Each day is approximately 6 hours, broken up into morning and afternoon sessions with a lunch in between. The asterisk is there on the 6 hours each day, again, depending on the jurisdiction and whether or not you have an extra day tacked on to the exam. There's a multiple choice component, or actually a day of multiple choice questions, in addition to a writing component, a day that focuses on your legal writing analysis. The exam is closed book, so there's a lot of memorization that takes place with a number of subjects provided. So it's going to be important for us to talk about how you strategize to get all of that information in your head and prepare it for the bar. I understand no one can hear me again. Let's see. Let me try this again. Oh, what's going on? Can you guys hear me now? Okay. Yes. Okay. So people can hear. Oh, wait. Wonderful. Okay. Got it. Okay. I'm so sorry. I'm getting some mixed messages here. So I'll keep going. Okay. Finally, and again, the exam is closed book. Okay. The exam can also be jurisdiction specific. So, for instance, if you have states like California or you're taking Virginia, it means that you have to know the state laws for that particular exam in order to answer questions. If you can't hear the presentation, you can always dial in. You can use the dial-in information provided in your confirmation to listen along with the session. Okay. Also, keep in mind we are recording this, so once we're done, we will get that converted, and then we will add it to our Office My WCL page for your convenience. Okay, so moving on with the local day. On your local day, again, this is considered your writing day. This day can be 6 hours long, again, divided up into a morning and afternoon session. It's usually held on the Tuesday or Thursday in July, February. It is a closed book exam, typically, and the subjects can vary. The subjects can include subjects like business associations, wills and trusts. It can include all the subjects from your first year of law school and so on. But the idea is that it is closed book, so you'll have, again, to pull from your memory in order to answer these questions. And again, it can be jurisdiction specific. So you have to know the state rules in order to answer the essay questions. Now, again, typically your local day has a typical essay question. You're given a fact pattern and your job is to answer a specific question related to that fact pattern. But some local days also include multiple choice questions, as well as something called a performance test. If I have any Florida takers in the audience, your essay day or your local day actually includes something called 100 multiple choice Florida facts. Yes, that is a part of their day. Yay, Florida. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about the performance test on the next slide. So the performance test can be local or it can be something called a multi-state performance test. But either way, the performance test formats are the same. It's typically a 90-minute question or task for you to complete. And it is what we call a closed universe exam. So what that means, and what the beauty of this part of the exam is that you don't have to memorize law for this portion. Everything will be provided to you. You're in the fictional town of either Franklin or some jurisdiction that is not typically like an actual state jurisdiction, but you're presented with a file and a library that will contain all of the information that you need in order to complete the task that you've been assigned. The challenging part about this exam is that a lot of the material that you're presented with may be relevant or not. So your job is to go through this information, figure out what's relevant, and then provide them with the finished task. So it's very important for you to follow directions on this part of the exam and to practice. This part exam is very typical. Some of the tasks that you may complete would be to draft a memo, write a client letter, draft a set of interrogatories, and so on. So it's very practical and things that you probably are already familiar with. So the tendency would be to blow it off and not practice it as much. But I encourage you, because of the time frame, 90 minutes is going to be something that you want to make sure that you practice and that you also practice under timed conditions. Most states have either one MPT as a part of the exam, or there could be two. And so we'll talk about that on a later slide. The multi-state bar exam is a component of your bar exam. There are a lot of acronyms that are out there that are thrown around about the bar, but the multi-state bar exam itself is a component. It is 6 hours, divided up again, morning and an afternoon session. It is given on the Wednesday, the last Wednesday of July or February. And no matter what state, except for Louisiana, every jurisdiction gives this exam on the Wednesday. It is closed book and has 200 multiple choice questions. So you have 100 questions in the morning, take a lunch break, and then you come back to complete another set of 100 multiple choice questions. It is a mixed subject exam that has the 1L subjects or subjects from your 1L year plus criminal procedure and evidence. Mixed subject meaning, question 1 could be torts, question 2 would jump to con law, question 3 could then be real property, and so on. And so that's what makes this exam very challenging, because you're having to go back and forth between subject matter. Now, questions are evenly distributed both morning and afternoon. And only 175 questions are actually graded. That is something new to the bar over the past couple of administrations. There were typically only 10 what they call test questions, but now they have 25 test questions as a part of this assessment. Now, what are these states? So these states that are colored in orange have adopted something called the Uniform Bar Exam. The Uniform Bar Exam is an exam. It's the same. It's usually given the same amount of time, the last Tuesday and Wednesday of July or February. And it includes the multi-state bar exam, so the multiple choice day, plus 2 multi-state performance tests on your local day, and in addition to something called the multi-state essay exam. The multi-state essay exam is typically given in the afternoon of your local day. It is 3 hours. It includes approximately 6 essay questions, which usually hovers around 30 minutes per question. That is the suggested time limit to complete the essay exam. This exam, because it's Uniform Bar Exam, the rules that you need to know are for what we call majority jurisdiction. So you don't have to know state-specific rules in order to complete the essays on this exam. The subjects included cover the MBE subjects. So again, those same subjects from your first year, plus criminal procedure and evidence. And it also includes business associations, wills and trusts, family law, conflicts of laws, and secure transactions. And again, you only need to know the majority rules for those subjects. Students love this exam because it gives you the ability to port your score, meaning that once you've achieved the requisite passing score in one jurisdiction, you can transfer that score to another UBE jurisdiction. So it allows you, it opens up kind of the span of where you can go and practice without having to take another bar exam. But I caution you to please check the requirements because your UBE score can expire. Typically, the score is good anywhere between 3 to 5 years after you've taken it. But because each jurisdiction controls the admission requirements, you have to understand what those are. In addition to that, there may be additional requirements beyond taking the UBE that you will need to fulfill in order to be admitted to practice law in a UBE jurisdiction. So we have some information for you through our office and on our website that I'll share with you in a moment. But make sure that you understand what those requirements are so that you are not caught off guard when it comes to applying for character and fitness and for the bar exam for that jurisdiction. Now, how do you go about selecting a jurisdiction? Well, a couple of questions. I know this may seem a little corny, but when people ask you, oh, well, where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years? Well, this actually comes into play when it comes to choosing and selecting a bar exam. So think about where you want to live, where you would like to be in terms of location, city, state, whatever. Like just think about where you feel like you can be for a little while, where you want to settle in and practice law. Also think about your network systems, your support systems. Where are your professional networks? Where are your social networks? So that you are in a space where you can thrive professionally as well as socially. Also consider the legal field that you're interested in being involved in. Is this particular jurisdiction high concentrated in IP law, or is there a need for additional family law attorneys or people in energy law and so on? So think about the jurisdiction as it relates to your field of interest. And then finally, I know this thing may seem a little interesting or kind of like, why would I want to consider my testing strengths? Well, what tends to happen is that most jurisdictions weight the exams differently. So your multiple choice day can be 40% of your total passing score for that jurisdiction versus 60% of the essay day for that jurisdiction. As an example, Maryland in its current form, so if those of you out there are planning to take the Maryland exam in February, Maryland right now is state specific, although it has adopted the UBE, but that won't be given until July of 2019. But Maryland right now weights its essay day 66 and 2/3 of the passing score. So what that means is that if you feel like you're a very strong writer, then that is probably a better exam for you. That is, if you feel like multiple choice is going to be tricky for you. So just thinking about it in terms of your writing strengths versus your multiple choice test taking skills and so on. But that doesn't mean that in a jurisdiction where both areas are weighted 50-50, that you still don't have a chance. You can still think about the weight of the exam, because if you are a stronger writer, then that could help lift up your multiple choice score if you feel like multiple choice is a challenge for you. So just having those conversations with our office can help you make that specific determination. Next slide includes some common filing deadlines for states at WCL, at our law school, for February, and then these are the filing deadlines for July. Just of note, if there are any students on the line interested in New York, I want you to kind of note their filing period. New York is very unique, in the fact that during that period of time, so for instance, November 1st through November 30th, you are filing to take the bar exam itself. New York does not complete the character and fitness process until after you've taken the bar exam. Other states, such as Maryland, Virginia, and the district, require that you submit your bar application and character and fitness all at the same time. So it's very important for you to note the deadlines, start early to gather the information that you need. You can visit your state's bar exams website and click on the necessary areas for you to understand what is needed. Some provide checklists to help you through that process. But the biggest thing is that you want to be aware of what the deadlines are so that you don't miss them. So because of that, our office has actually created a very unique resource. If you go to our webpage on the law school website and click on bar exam, there is a section for state-by-state bar exam requirements. Our office has created a neat little map here where you can actually go, click on a state, and it'll give you the information that we just discussed. So it talks about the subjects tested, NPRE passing scores, which we'll talk about in a little bit, the weighted exam, and filing deadlines and fees. So it's a really good resource. So if you're not quite sure which jurisdiction you're interested in, you have an opportunity to go through that map and check out all of the requirements from each jurisdiction. So now, speaking of fees, let's talk about some financial considerations for the bar that you want to begin to prepare yourself. These are all of these are related basically to money. And we want you to be aware that the fees for applying to the bar are separate from the character and fitness process. Character and fitness is basically like a background check, where the bar exam has you to complete an application that requests employment history, past residence, credit history. Typically, they might ask about criminal records. They may ask about driving records. They may ask you to submit fingerprints and so on. So again, it's very state specific. Each jurisdiction has its own set of requirements when it comes to character and fitness. So you want to make sure that you are aware of what those are. If you have any questionable things that you are thinking about or not so sure on whether or not you want to submit on your character and fitness application, I encourage you to contact the Office of Student Affairs. They work with students on a regular basis regarding those specific questions. But in addition to character and fitness fees, you've got laptop fees, living expenses. We highly encourage you to not work while you're preparing for the bar. Recognizing that may not be the case for all students, that is why we encourage you to come and speak with us to talk about your bar prep plan so that we can talk about the timing of it, time management, if you have to work and prepare. It is challenging to prepare for the bar and work, but you can absolutely do it. And so we just want to make sure that we talk it through together to give you some feedback on the best way to approach that. If you're planning to take a bar exam in another state outside of DC, Maryland, and Virginia, then that means you have to consider travel and lodging. These are additional expenses in order to prepare to take the bar exam. You also have a bar review course. We highly recommend that you take one in order to prepare. And a large part is because we want to make sure that you've got current material that you're working with, and that you have support system behind you with the material in order to prepare. And then finally, the transition between law school and employment can be, short, and sometimes employers, your start dates may be a little later than after the bar exam is completed. So you just want to make sure that you have a nice cushion prepared. So this is just all about, thinking about ways or thinking about things ahead of time so that you have the opportunity to save the money that you may need in order to support these expenses. We have a separate Financing the Bar seminar later in October, where we will have you speak with representatives from financial aid in order to talk about things like bar loans and so on, if that is something that you need to consider. So in addition to the bar exam, you have to take and pass the MPRE, which is the Multi-State Professional Responsibility Exam. Now, most jurisdictions require this exam. The next iteration of this exam will be held in November. The filing deadline for that is coming up next week, which is September 20th. It is $95 to register for this exam. The date that you see before you is what we call the timely filing. There is a late filing, which is about a week later after this date, which is available. But what happens, the fee to register doubles. So we want to make sure that you save some money by filing on time and getting that complete. Now, if you don't take the exam in November, please note that this exam is offered 3 times a calendar year. So the next administration would be in March. Now, for most states, you don't have to complete this exam before you take the bar exam. So if for some reason, something comes up, something happens, you can always take this after you've completed the bar. But keep in mind that it is a bar admissions requirement. So it has to be complete before you file to be admitted to take the exam. Now, if there are any folks thinking about Massachusetts, as an example, you actually have to complete this before you can take the Massachusetts bar. So it's very important for you to understand what those requirements are based on your jurisdiction. This exam is 2 hours. It's a 60 multiple choice question exam. It is closed book. Actually, only 50 of the multiple choice questions are graded, and the exam is measuring your knowledge of the Code of Professional Conduct. The best way to prepare for this exam, and actually to also give you an opportunity to test out bar review companies, is to take the free MPRE review courses that these companies offer. So take advantage of them. They usually come with comprehensive outlines and lectures and practice questions. So take advantage of it. The free courses, they'll give you an opportunity to kind of see how those courses prepare you for a test. So it's kind of like a test drive. So take the time to sign up for those free courses so that you can prepare for this exam. The passing score for this exam, again, is determined by each jurisdiction. But the range is anywhere from 75 to as high as an 86. Okay. So speaking of selecting a bar review course, we wanted to give you a few things to think about or to question when you are looking at different bar review courses. Think about your learning style. And it doesn't mean that you have to be pigeonholed into a particular learning style, but we do offer something called a VARC assessment that will go over with you what your preferred learning style is. But a really, really good bar review course is going to have features of it that cover all learning styles. So whether you're a read-write person or you are a visual person and so on, most really good bar exam companies are going to have something that will appeal to each type of learning style. I want you to think about classroom versus online. This is a time of self-assessment. You guys know you best. You know how you learn best. And so keep in mind whether or not being in a classroom is better for you in terms of structure, or if you need the flexibility of being online and having to approach kind of like an on-demand type process of learning. But remember, you have a finite time period to prepare. So you want to make sure that you still have, have that structure, but we totally understand the need for the flexibility. You want to make sure that your materials are comprehensive. So making sure that you have written materials that are giving you the proper rules of law that you need to know, that you have multiple choice practice questions to complete, that you have essay questions to complete. Again, most bar review companies require that you be more of a self-directed learner, meaning that they're going to provide you with the lectures that cover the most frequently tested subject matter, and then your job is to get in there, do the practice work, and figure out or have tools that will assist you in figuring out where you may need to focus more of your attention in terms of subject matter. There's a lot of material to cover, which is why, again, we encourage you to take a bar review course. Your course, you want to get feedback. You want to be able to see how you're doing, what you're doing, whether or not you're going in the right direction. So getting feedback on essays, feedback with multiple choice, making sure that you're selecting the best answer for the right reasons. All of that is a part of a really, really good bar review course. Being able to participate in mock exams. So sitting for 6 hours and completing a 200 multiple choice question exam is also a very useful tool. And it also gives you the opportunity to kind of get yourself situated in that type of setting before the actual game day. Location of where your course is may be important to you or not, but it's something to consider. Customer service, whether or not you're getting, people are being responsive to you is important. If you require any type of testing accommodations, bar review courses should also mimic that. So finding out whether or not they offer any kind of accommodations through the bar review course is also maybe important to you. We've already talked about structure versus flexibility. And if things don't go your way, you want to understand what the retake policies are of a course. Understand what is required of you to get a free retake if they offer such a thing, but understand what those policies are. And then obviously affordability. We want you to feel comfortable with what you're working with, because the last thing you want to do is to take something and feel bad about going through the materials and not feeling confident when you walk into that bar exam. That is going to be very, very important. Now, it takes, and I know this might be a little shocking, but yes, it takes approximately 500 hours to prepare for the bar, hence the recommendation on why we suggest you do not work. Typically, it's a 9 to 5. You're working 9 to 5, Monday through Friday with preparing for the exam, and about 10 to 12 hours total on the weekend. So can you still have a life and prepare for the bar? The answer is it depends. No, there are ways, absolutely. And we highly encourage you to take care of yourself during this process. The idea is I just want you to think about what it was like during your first semester of first year. And that is what it's like to prepare for the bar. So a large part of why we do things like Octobar is to provide you with the resources and the ability to talk with somebody about how to pull this together. So speaking of Octobar, That is our Bar Exam Awareness Month that we started last year. And during this month, we really focus on all things bar. I know a lot of people feel like it's too early to think about the bar. It's too early to think about, but it's never too early. Never too early, because there's a lot that we want you to be aware of. So we encourage you to schedule sessions with us for bar advising. We can talk about selecting jurisdiction. We will have a session on managing your time and your wellness during preparing for the bar. We have guests coming in from the bar examiners from Maryland and DC to talk about the bar exam and character and fitness. We'll also be going into a little more detail about the application process and accommodations. We are offering an alumni bar panel where we have alumni come back to talk about their experiences with the bar exam. And we are very excited about our lift program, as you can see at the end of that lift off. We have come up with a mentoring program, an alumni mentoring program that's specific to the bar. The purpose of it is to match you with a graduating student, graduating alum and attorney, to just kind of be of like a guide, someone who can motivate you during the bar exam period while you're preparing, someone that you can ask questions as you're going through the whole process. It's a way or an answer to alumni who have reached out to us asking what can they possibly do to help. And so we've designed this mentoring program and hope that you will consider being a part of it. If there are any February takers on the webinar today, the applications for the LIFT program are due September the 28th. So be sure to get those in. But we are kind of presenting the LIFT program at the end of October, where we're going to invite alumni and we're inviting students to come so that you guys can learn more about the program and think about whether or not you would like to participate. We're very excited about it and hope that you guys are too. And then finally, in order to kind of lengthen the runway between graduating from law school and preparing for the bar, we offer Advanced Legal Analysis, which is a bar skills course that will help you develop the skills you need to complete multiple choice, essay, and performance tests on the bar exam. It is a 3-credit course. It is graded. It is not a substitute for the bar. It is not designed to go over all the subjects tested. It is not that type of course. But what it is designed to do is to take frequently tested concepts and doctrines from specific subject matters and then show you how these subjects are tested on the bar, and to give you skills, give you an approach, give you a method in answering multiple choice and essay questions and how to approach the performance test. So if you find the time in your schedule in the spring to take this course, we highly encourage you to do so. And this is, again, it's a good way to give you kind of an extra runway before starting bar review. So the other piece is that we also want to encourage good habits in preparing for the bar, which is what this class is designed to do. So I see I'm about 3 minutes over. I apologize for the length, but if you have questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. This is our office. Katisha Dixon is our assistant director, and Sarah Stanley is our associate director of academic advising. You can schedule an appointment by booking with bookwithoae.com, or you can always email us if you have any questions. So I want to thank you for your time. As you can see, we've got a QR code. I hope that, on my fingers crossed, that this is going to work. If you want, the survey is actually embedded in this QR code. So if you want to go ahead and take the time to click on this and then give us some feedback, we would really appreciate it. Otherwise, we will also send out a link to the survey for those of you that joined us today, so that we can get feedback from you and how we can always make this better. In the meantime, I'm going to see if anyone submitted any questions. let's see. Got a number of questions here. So let's see. All right. I have someone here that says, I'm a thrill and plan to take advanced legal analysis. However, I'm concerned about how quickly it will fill up because there were not many sections available this semester. Is this being addressed? Yes. So this is the first time we offered it in the fall. And so the idea, again, is to take the course prior to when you're going to graduate and take the exam. So the fall class is really designed typically for students that are planning to take the February bar. In the spring, we will have 3 sections of this course available. So there will be plenty of spaces to take it. I noticed this presentation is more or less centered around JD students. Is it possible we have another session of this webinar that will be directed towards LLMs, students from other jurisdictions, say common law countries on a panoramic view? I think this will be a lot helpful as well. Okay, thank you for that feedback. For our LLM students, I know that there is a person specifically available to you to have these discussions, but I am absolutely open to working with that person to see if we can come up with something specific for our LLM students that are interested in taking the bar. So thank you again for that feedback. Let's see. Will more than one advanced legal analysis courses be offered? Yes, we've got that. And hi, I'm an LLM student in the ILSP program. The scan for the survey works just to, oh, thank you. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. Great, you guys. So thank you again for your time this morning. I hope you found this helpful. And be sure to let us know if you have any questions. And we look forward to seeing you throughout the year for any additional help or resource. So thank you again. Thanks for joining. Have a great weekend.